The following story touches on sensitive topics. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome, friend. Follow me. We're going where nightmares are born. Most people would never dare enter these woods. There's no telling what horrors we'll find, the disturbing terrors we'll uncover. Don't say I didn't warn you. Unsettling creatures lurk here. Be careful, they might follow you out. Or maybe they're already inside you, in the spaces between your thoughts or under your skin. Are you afraid? Good. Now you are ready to enter the Warning Woods. June 26th, 2009. Philip Kine's butt was fast asleep. He adjusted himself on the horizontal log, catching one of his jean pockets on its jagged bark. He wished he'd brought a chair like some of the other campers. His friend Emery twisted beside him, also searching in vain for comfort while he sang along with Counselor Tyree Lee's acoustic guitar like everyone else. Everyone stared into the radiant flames in the center of the large circle as they sang How He Loves. Most of the girls sang through breathy head voices while the boys tried to sink their awkward, not quite men's voices into the melody. Most only mouthed the words. Across the fire from Philip, June Jensen, JJ to her friends, met his eyes. She smiled. He smiled back, though anyone who saw it might have called it a wince, and looked away, finding Bette McNeil seated a few campers to his left on an upturned stump. Smirking, she winked at him before leaning over to whisper to her friend Angelina Ball. Angelina sat in a collapsible chair that gave Philip a second reason to feel jealous of her. Angelina made the facial equivalent of a giggle. Her voice, one of the few clear, strong tones in the choir of uncomfortable teens, disappeared momentarily as she whispered back to Bette. Philip returned his gaze to the fire. When the song ended, Pastor Clive Coulson led them in a lengthy prayer during which Bette and Angelina quietly moved behind the group toward Philip and Emery. Angelina set her chair behind their log. Philip, his heart racing, scooted to the very edge to make room in the middle for Bette to sit. But Emery filled the new space, opening the space next to himself instead. As she sat, Bette whispered something to Emery that made him turn away, muffling laughter he almost failed to contain. Philip's face went hot, and not from the fire. The prayer finally ended. Pastor Coulson said, "And with that, Kent, Karen?" Counselors Kent Mann and Karen Allen held up plastic totes through which everyone could see bags of marshmallows, sleeves of graham crackers, and chocolate, Bette shouted. A few campers, as well as Tyree, laughed. Bette leaned back to Angelina and asked, "Could you bring me back some chocolate, please? I don't want the other stuff." To Emery, she said, "I hate s'mores." He chuckled, "You're insane." Philip leaned around him to say, "Bette, I'll bring you some chocolate." "I got it, PK," said Angelina, tousling his hair as she stood to join the growing line in front of Karen. "Oh, yeah, cool," said Philip. The girls had taken to calling him PK after Emery called him that when they all met at dinner the night before. Yes, those were Philip's initials, but that's not why Emery referred to him that way. To Emery, and now the girls, PK stood for Pastor's Kid. Philip was not the son of a pastor, but Emery claimed he always acted like one. In secular parlance, he was a teacher's pet, always following the rules, never stepping out of line, and volunteering himself at any opportunity. Adults had always loved him for this, and as a 7th grader, he'd only just begun to discover those qualities would not also ingratiate him with his peers. For reasons he could not comprehend, Being the teacher's pet, being PK, made him untrustworthy in the eyes of other youth. Philip was pretty sure Emery only hung out with him because they were the only middle school boys at House of Faith, their church back home. Here at The Outpost, surrounded by kids from churches all over the state, he struggled to find his footing with the other kids. Not that he really cared. There was only one person he truly cared to impress, for more reasons he couldn't comprehend. And she was sitting on the log, waiting for chocolate. "Can I sit with you guys?" JJ's voice surprised Philip and Emery as Angelina collected her ingredients. "What's up, JJ?" Emery asked. His grin glanced Philip as he turned back around, abandoning him to talk to JJ alone. JJ was one of a handful of middle school girls from their church and the only one who'd signed up for the week-long camp. Emery thought of her as PK's female equivalent. Philip couldn't or wouldn't see it that way, and ironically found JJ obnoxious. "Not much," JJ said. "I'm honestly so enjoy right now. Singing praise around a campfire is so beautiful. So, can I sit with you guys or..." Sure," Philip said, accidentally smiling. He just couldn't help it. He turned to glance at Bet. She looked so pretty in the firelight. "Not that she needs firelight to look pretty," he said. "I'm not sure where there's room, but I'll just move my chair behind you like she did," JJ cheerfully answered, pointing at Angelina's empty chair. "Great," said Philip, now having to force his smile. "Don't sit too far back," Angelina warned as she passed on her way back. "Huh?" asked JJ. "Ignore her," said Emery. "Don't let the woods get ya," Angelina whispered. She laughed as she returned to her seat. Emery, now also equipped with everything he needed, left Philip alone with JJ and returned to Bet's side. "Were you here last year? I don't remember seeing you," asked JJ. No, it's my first time," said Philip. He tried to sneak an extra chocolate bar for Bet in case she was still hungry after she ate Angelina's, but he set it down feeling too guilty for taking more than his share. "I've been coming since 6th grade, JJ said. She was in 8th grade now, yet another reason Philip knew he should be proud of the attention she gave him. She asked, "How come you didn't come last year?" Stepping aside to allow her to gather her ingredients, Philip said, "My parents didn't think I was ready to spend a weekend away, from them?" JJ replied when Philip didn't finish. "Aw." Philip wanted to throw himself onto the fire. Seeing him shrink, JJ said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I think it's sweet how much they care about you." Philip watched her pass over the Hershey's and asked, "Don't you want some chocolate?" "Oh no," said JJ. "I'm lactose intolerant. Unless it's like dark. No chocolate for me." Philip said, "Oh, hey, could I maybe have yours then?" JJ beamed, tossing him a Hershey bar that slipped through his hands and landed on the ground. "Oops," she said. Philip replied, "No, my bad. Thanks." JJ had to carry her chair over before she could join the rest of them by the log. Campers chattered all around them between sticky bites. Pastor Coulson and the counselors gave them space, forming their own little cluster at the edge of the fire's light. Philip swapped the chocolate bar he'd taken for himself with the one he dropped and offered it to Bet before he sat down. "In case one isn't enough," he said. "You calling me fat?" she asked. Emery and Angelina laughed. Philip stammered, "What? No, I just thought..." "Sit down, I'm messing with you," said Bet. She did not take his Hershey bar. "What's so funny?" JJ asked, pulling her chair over and already laughing for no reason. "Nothing," said Philip. After showers, Philip and Emery turned in. Some of the other boys in the cabin read in their bunks while most played Uno on the floor. Philip and Emery's bunk was at the very back corner, far from anyone else. Philip dug through his backpack, blindly searching for his book. Emery slid off the top bunk and fell backwards onto Philip's bed. "What?" Philip snapped. Did I do something? Emery asked. Yes, Philip thought, but aloud said, Nah, just tired. Emery flashed an iPhone 3G he clutched under his shirt. We're not supposed to have those. I thought they took them, Philip whispered. Emery scoffed. My parents don't let me have a phone. See how easy that is? What did you think they were going to do, pat you down? Philip said nothing. Well, guess what, PK? You're going to be glad I snuck it in, said Emery. Doubt it, Philip muttered. Oh, so you don't want to hang out with the girls tonight? What girls? Philip asked, hoping his voice didn't betray his hope. Bet and Angelina, said Emery. But, if you can find a way to tell her and don't think she'll rat, you can invite JJ. That's okay, said Philip. Emery shrugged. Suit yourself. Angelina shook Bet awake at 11:55. Karen, the counselor's bunk, was right next to the door, so they planned to say they were going to the latrines if she caught them. Karen remained fast asleep as they crept past, though. Good, Angelina said once outside. She probably would have actually followed us to the bathroom. Lena, you can't blame her when we're literally doing what she'd think we were doing. Fair. You grabbed your thing, right? Got it. Bet tapped her flyleaf hoodie's front pocket. Angelina bobbed her head. Sick. She'd met Bet at the outpost in 6th grade. It hadn't been a week-long summer camp that time, but a weekend fall retreat. They'd bunked next to each other and got along naturally. Since then, Bet had changed, and they now looked like polar opposites. She dyed her hair black like the clothes and, most recently, the makeup she liked to wear, but their friendship metamorphosed with Bet. Angelina, once the headstrong leader of their duo, now regarded her as an intriguing equal. Bet naturally manifested an aura of meek power. People reacted to it differently. It seemed to disgust many parents, some counselors, and a few pastors who came to speak at the camp, while most of the other campers found it enchanting. Bet McNeil, by her own admission, dabbled in witchcraft. Only a select few people knew this for a fact, but whenever a rumor started circulating about her, Bet allowed it to roam, even bolstered it. The more wild the rumors became, the easier they were to dismiss as nonsense if anyone of consequence asked her about them. Eventually, most people at her school, her church, and at home believed her nothing more than a victim of discrimination for the way she chose to dress. Angelina belonged to the sacred club of witnesses to Bet's craft. The previous year, Bet had given her a demonstration of the art of bone casting, during which she predicted someone would be hurt in a good-natured accident. 2 hours later, a boy from Cornerstone broke his nose against a tree branch playing Capture the Flag. But now you have to ask yourself, Bet had told Angelina after a counselor took the kid to the hospital. Did I predict this, or did I cause it? Please tell me you just predicted it, Angelina had said. Bet shrugged. I don't know. Could also be a coincidence, said Angelina. I don't know, Bet had replied. Then why do you do it? Angelina had asked. Why do something that might be hurting people? Lena, I have to be true to what I am, said Bet. And ever since, Angelina could not take her eyes off of Bet any time she was around. She didn't believe in magic, certainly not in witchcraft. Her intrigue mostly revolved around the question of whether her beliefs could withstand the test Bet presented. Not that she felt any animosity toward Bet. Quite the opposite. She wondered how she could feel such affinity for someone who, by her own admission, contradicted Angelina's most precious beliefs. But if her beliefs were truly so precious, why did she secretly want to see Bet shatter them? Tonight could be the night, she thought as the boys waiting for them by the bones of the bonfire came into view. To decrease the odds of getting caught, none of them brought lights. The moon shone brightly enough for them to see that night. She's gonna do what? Emery asked with a nervous grin after Angelina announced the reason for their midnight meeting. Guys, no, said Philip, backing away. Get back here, PK, Emery snapped. Philip obediently returned. Bet said, I'm sure it sounds creepy and looks creepy to you guys because you've let Western culture color your perception, but... Western culture? Scoffed Emery. I think talking to the devil is considered creepy pretty much everywhere. We don't know if whatever might talk to us is evil, said Bet. Besides, it's not like we're going in the woods. If it gets bad, we'll just head back to the dorms. I'm sure Pastor Coulson would be happy to say a little prayer over us if we tell him we're scared. Guys, I don't want to do this. Can we do something else? Asked Philip. What, like spin the bottle? Angelina smirked. Ew, Philip replied, blushing and absolutely refusing to look at Bet. Angelina, switching to a more comforting tone, said, Just think of it like a card trick. No offense, Bet. Bet said, Hey, if that's what helps him not be scared. I'm not scared, said Philip. I just don't know if this is what God would want us to do. You guys should think about that. But I'm not scared. Oh, you should be a little scared, said Angelina. Huh? Why? He doesn't know? Angelina asked Emery. Emery shook his head, raising a silencing finger to his lips. Ignoring them all, Bet sat cross-legged in the grass and pulled a long chain from her hoodie pocket. Oh, if he's going to be here for this, he needs to know, said Angelina, taking a seat above Bet on a stump. What are you talking about? Come on, Philip almost whined. He remained standing, practically hiding behind Emery. Emery said, Dude, you don't want to hear this, trust me. It's a dumb legend from when the Boy Scouts owned this camp. Kids just spread it around to scare each other. Do those kids ever try contacting the spirit, though? Asked Bet. Demon, said Angelina. Bet rolled her eyes. Philip, you want to hear the legend or not? Emery hissed. It's a freaking creepypasta like Slender Man or something. Don't freak PK out, he'll bail and I'll have to go back with him. Sorry, PK, but you know it's true. He still has nightmares about monsters and... Philip punched Emery's shoulder and stepped forward. No, I won't bail. Tell me, I want to know. He sat on the ground across from Bet. He wants to know, Angelina echoed with a shrug. Emery smacked Philip's shoulder before taking a seat on a log next to him. To Bet, he said, He's asking for it. Go ahead and tell it, I guess. You want to tell it? Bet asked Angelina. Angelina served the opportunity back on an invisible platter Bet eagerly accepted. Awesome. Okay, so, yeah, back when the Boy Scouts owned this place, 3 kids went missing during the first 2 days of camp. It was summertime like this, but stormier. There was this big thunderstorm the night the kids went missing with all kinds of lightning and thunder. They woke everybody up to make them leave their tents and go to the building that's the chapel now, but the storm hit when they were moving everybody. In the chaos, 3 boys ran into the woods for shelter, I guess. Or that's what people assume. They were planning this huge search the next day with helicopters and everything, but that morning, the missing kids strolled back into camp like nothing happened. And then, I guess, they just started acting really strange. People say they all had fevers and nosebleeds from something they got exposed to in the woods. A lot of people think lightning struck near them and messed up their brains and their insides, but I think... Oh wait, maybe I'd better save it. Their parents came and got them, and nobody really knows what happened to them after that. The camp kept operating like nothing happened, but a lot of boys were scared to go into the woods. I mean, listen to them. Hear the wind howling? But do you feel any wind? It's a little chilly, but the air is pretty still. They're never quiet. There's always something rustling out there, but you never see a single creature, do you? Think about it. Have you even seen a single squirrel since you got here? Isn't nature supposed to be full of little creatures like that? So, years later, parents basically stopped sending their boys here to the outpost. The Boy Scouts sold it to some Christian organization that turned it into a youth camp, and the first year it opened, another kid disappeared. Wasn't such a happy ending this time. Trigger warning, some counselor who went looking spotted him standing up next to a tree with his back turned to them. They shouted his name. I think it was Ryan, Angelina whispered. Bet nodded. They shouted, "Ryan, Ryan!" But he stood completely still, covered in dirt. It was all over his hair and everything, like he'd been rolling around in it all night. He just wouldn't respond. So this counselor pushes one last branch out of her way before she gets to him. And that's when she sees he's not standing. He's hovering. He's floating barely an inch off the ground. And there's a rope around his neck. Philip shrank into his shoulders. Emery watched him squirm, unable to accurately read his face in the pale moonlight. "He died out there?" Philip asked, eyeing the woods. "No," Bet replied. "Huh?" Philip and Emery asked in unison. Emery had never heard anything about this fourth kid. He knew about the Boy Scouts, but didn't know anyone had gone missing since the camp changed hands. Bet said, "He'd hanged himself from a branch and still hung there, completely still, but alive. What's extra crazy is the counselor who found him freaked out and ran to get someone else without looking too closely. 15 whole minutes later, she led a whole bunch of people to what she thought was just his body, and he rotated around to look at them all. Then he said, 'Can you help me get down? I'm stuck.'" "That's dumb as hell. That's not really part of the story," scoffed Emery. Bet said, "Lena?" And Angelina said, "No, I think it's true. I've heard about Ryan before from a kid whose dad was a pastor that came here." "Well, true or not," continued Bet, "that's when the rumor that I believe started. The rumor that these woods are infested with a spirit, or demon, who harvests kids' souls and sends them back hollowed out. The Boy Scouts walked out different than they walked in, and Ryan couldn't walk out, could he? Not after what he'd done to himself. But what made him do it, and how is he still alive? All his friends and family said there was no reason he would have tried to hang himself." "But it's just a legend, right?" asked Philip. Bet shrugged unconvincingly. "No, come on," whined Philip. "If that really happened, it would have been in the news, right? People would have freaked out." "Do you have a phone to look it up?" Angelina asked. "No, but Emery does," Philip retorted. Emery said, "Nah, I can text, but the 3G sucks out here." Philip said, "Okay, well, whatever. I'm not saying you're lying, Bet. I just don't believe the story. Anyway, what's your plan? Why are we out here?" "To find the truth," Bet replied. "I want to know what's really out there." "And how are you going to do that?" asked Emery. Bet stood and waved her chain in his face. She leaned in too close, in Philip's opinion, and whispered, "With this." Unaffected, Emery asked, "That a necklace?" "It's called a pendulum," said Angelina. "What's it do?" asked Emery. Bet said, "Answers questions. Let's do this already. I'm freezing, and so is poor Philip. Look at him." Philip uncrossed his arms and unclenched his jaw, making a bewildered expression. "Huh? No, I'm fine. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't get this over with, or, not that we have to rush or—" "Take a breath," Bet advised with a sly grin. She held the chain in front of her with her arm fully extended. An upside-down pyramid hung at the lowest point. Bet let it sway until its oval swing shrunk to stillness. "This isn't demonic, is it?" Philip asked. Bet raised an eyebrow at him. "You calling me fat and evil now?" "I didn't call you fat," Philip groaned. Bet held up a finger to shush him as she took a deep breath and drew back her shoulders. Then she relaxed and sighed. "I can't even see this thing." "Here," said Emery, holding up his iPhone to let its screen light the pendulum. Bet said, "Feels wrong, but it'll work, I guess. Who wants to ask the first question? If the pendulum swings, the answer is yes." Emery asked, "What, do we have to, warm it up?" "Huh?" asked Bet. Do we have to do icebreakers or something? Just ask if it's a demon or not." "Well, hang on," said Bet. "Let me at least find out if anything is talking to us or not. Spirit of these woods, or any spirit that might be present, will you speak with me tonight?" The group waited in silence. Emery held his phone toward the pendulum, casting its shadow on the ground in front of Bet. The upside-down pyramid shook twice, then drew a small circle in the air. The circle expanded until its radius reached Bet's elbow. Then it bounced as if it collided with something and dropped to the center below Bet's hand. "Now can you ask it?" Angelina whispered. Bet said, "Thank you, spirit. Are you the spirit that dwells in these woods?" Quicker this time, the pendulum began to swing. "You're making it do that," said Emery. "Her arm's not moving," said Angelina. "Bet, are you doing that?" asked Philip. "Obviously not," said Bet. "I'm just channeling the energy here." "You should hang it from a branch or something," said Emery. Angelina hissed, "Dude, just let her do her thing." "I can't hang it from a branch because then I won't be able to channel through it," said Bet. "So channel through the tree," said Emery. "Hang that thing on a branch and touch the tree so your energy can, flow or whatever." "Would that work so these guys would believe you?" asked Angelina. Bet shrugged. "It's worth a shot if that's what it'll take. Means we'll have to get closer to the woods, though." Philip's head instinctively turned toward the whistling trees. "Let's go," said Emery. They followed his lead to a small tree at the very edge of the woods with branches low enough for Angelina, the tallest of them all, to reach. Bet placed her hand on the trunk and tested its strength to see if she could make the pendulum swing. It jiggled slightly when she shoved with full effort, but everyone agreed it would be too obvious she was making it swing if she tried that. "Okay," said Bet. "Spirit, my sincerest apologies for the, inconvenience. Are you still here?" The pendulum swung in a perfect circle. Emery shone his phone screen toward the ground as if removing the light would stop the impossible movement. "Oh wow," said Bet. "I really didn't think this would work, Emery. Put the light back on it. I'm going to ask the most important question." Emery reluctantly obeyed. Philip whispered, "No, Emery, we shouldn't do this. This isn't right." Emery whispered back, "No, I want to see how she's doing this." He could see how Philip looked and didn't want the girls to see that look on his own face. "Spirit," said Bet, "is it true what people say about you, that you're a demon?" The pendulum remained still. Drool dripped from the corner of Philip's parted lips. "Are you a kind spirit?" Bet asked. Still, the pendulum did not move. She asked, "Are you evil?" A gust of wind that finally matched the howling out in the woods brushed past them, and, of course, the pendulum swung then. Most of the tree holding it did as well. "Did that count?" asked Angelina, at the same time Philip asked, "Was that an answer?" The wind kept blowing, so the pendulum kept swinging, making further interrogation impossible. Bet let go of the tree, but did not ask Angelina to get the pendulum down. She didn't want to touch it. She couldn't help interpreting its continuous circles as a voice in her head. A voice hissing, "Yes, yes, yes." Suddenly, Emery snatched his phone back from Bet and pressed it against his chest, hiding its light. They all heard the sound he reacted to, a snapping branch somewhere up by the cabins, and ducked down. The wind died down, exacerbating the heat of embarrassment warming Philip's frigid face. He'd never gotten in trouble from anyone but his parents before. Everywhere he went, he was always the good kid, the favorite of the adults. He wanted to run, but worried that might get him in more trouble. "They probably can't see us down here," Emery hoped aloud. No one believed him. The moon shone brightly enough to outline everything in the open, including them. "Who is that?" a voice cautiously called from the hill. No one answered. "Bet? Angelina? Are you guys out here?" Philip recognized the voice immediately. His shoulders lowered and some of the heat left his face. "It's just JJ," he whispered. "Ah, snap. whispered Angelina. "She's gonna rat us out for sure." Sure enough, JJ quietly called out, "I'm gonna go get the counselors if you don't tell me where you are. We're not supposed to be out here after dark." "I got this," said Philip. He had a strong feeling JJ wouldn't want to get him in trouble. With a despairing glance at Bet, he stood and waved. "JJ, hey, it's Philip Kind. We're over here by the fire." "PK?" she asked. "Yeah," said Philip. "Who else is there?" One by one, the group stood. "Angelina? Emery? Oh, Bet, there you are. I was worried you went out to the woods." "Why?" asked Bet, daring JJ to explain. JJ ignored the question. "It's kind of nice out here, actually. Mind if I sit with you guys? What you doing down here?" They stepped forward to meet her away from the woods. They could all see the over-friendly smile stretched across her face. She looked excited. Philip recognized the expression. It reflected the way he felt too, sneaking out for the first time in his life, breaking the rules. Emery said, We were actually just about to turn back in, so..." JJ stopped next to Philip and said, "Oh, come on, I just got here. Can't we stay a little longer?" "I don't know, we're all pretty cold and it's really late," said Bet. Angelina concurred. "We gotta get up for the morning service, Can't be too..." "Guys," JJ whined. "I thought we could play Never Have I Ever, or maybe Truth or Dare." She nudged Philip. Yeah, I'm good," said Emery. "Hey, actually," Angelina crescendoed, "that sounds kind of fun." JJ laughed and threw an arm around Philip, pulling him against her, saying, "Ooh, you're warm." Philip chuckled uncomfortably and stepped away. JJ grumbled, "Fine, be cold then, mister." Emery whispered to Angelina, "Are you sure? It's really cold. And aren't you supposed to be drunk to play Truth or Dare?" "Oh, sure, like alcohol makes anything better," Angelina snapped with genuine indignation. "But yeah, I think we should have some fun. The odds of us all successfully sneaking out again are..." "Who goes first?" JJ squealed, clenching her fists near her cheeks. "Go for it," encouraged Angelina. "Me? Really?" JJ asked loud enough to make the rest of the group glance nervously toward the cabins. "Sorry," she whispered. "I've just never gotten to play it before. Okay. Bet, Truth or Dare." "Why me?" asked Bet. Truth, I guess." JJ inhaled deeply. "Here goes. Are you actually a witch like everybody says?" "What?" gasped Philip. He thought the pendulum thing was a gimmick. He hadn't realized he'd just participated in witchcraft. He silently prayed for forgiveness. But if he couldn't get a hold of himself soon, he was going to have to beg for forgiveness again, because he couldn't help feeling exhilarated by the forbidden mystery that was Bet McNeil. Bet fluttered her lips. "Aren't we all just what people say we are?" "It's supposed to be a truth, not a riddle," scolded JJ. She took an obvious sidestep toward Philip again. "All right, yeah, fine, I'm a witch. Happy?" Confusion racked Philip, so disorienting he barely noticed JJ's tactless readjustment. He felt duly confused about why Bet would call herself something so unholy and why it made her more intriguing to him. Emery said, "Wow, that's something." "Don't make a big deal out of it," suggested Angelina. "Okay, so we're off to a good start," JJ cheered. To Bet, she said, "That means you go next." "All right," said Bet, relieved it didn't seem anyone cared for an explanation. "Emery, Truth or Dare?" "Definitely Dare," he said. Philip instantly imagined Bet daring Emery to kiss her and felt the heat return to his face twofold. Bet spent an entire minute concocting a dare. Her brain offered an immediate idea, but she thought it might be too intense considering what the pendulum told them. No other ideas came to her, though. Finally, she put Emery's fate into his own hands. "I dare you to go into the woods for 30 seconds. "What?" No way, said Emery. He looked repulsed by the idea. Then you have to answer a truth, said JJ. Emery asked, how about a different dare? Bet said, nope. You turned down the dare, so it has to be a truth now. I'll make it easy. Who's your crush? Philip stiffened. A strange sound like the beginning of a sneeze inflated behind his clenched teeth. Before he realized what he was saying, he said, I'll do it. The dare, I'll do it. PK, don't, said Emery. Please don't, JJ pleaded. No, I want to, said Philip. It'll be exciting. Besides, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for God is with me. To Bet, he said, you want to know about what's in there, right? Yeah, that's why I used the pendulum, but you wouldn't believe it, Bet fired back. Philip, Philip, Angelina cheered in whisper. Bet said, I don't know, Philip. Honestly, I kind of knew Emery would turn it down. I didn't think anyone would really... I'm not scared, Philip lied. If you guys stand at the edge of the woods and wait for me, it's not like I'll get lost, right? I'll just go in for 30 seconds, probably nothing will happen, and I'll come right back out. But what does going in mean? Angelina asked. Shouldn't he have to do something or go a certain distance? If he just steps in and stands there for 30 seconds, that's no fun. Why do you want something to happen to him? JJ accused. Nothing's gonna happen, asserted Philip. How about I have to... Angelina cut in. You know the song This Little Light of Mine? Yeah, said Philip. Angelina said, before I knew how to count and my siblings would play hide and seek with me, they had me sing 2 verses of that song instead of counting. Let's do that. Keep walking until you finish 2 verses of This Little Light, then walk back. Do I have to sing on the way back? Asked Philip. Angelina replied, nah, unless you want to. You don't have to do this, Bet said, giving Philip a knowing stare that implied the 2 words she verbally withheld. For me. Philip said, I know. While slowly panning his vision around the horseshoe of trees, he thought, I do have to do this, though. His panning gaze landed on Bet. Their moonlit eyes held each other for a moment, and he saw something new in them. The others witnessed this moment, and if you'd asked any of them, they would have told you they saw concern, worry, and regret in Bet's eyes. But if you asked Philip, he would have told you he saw love. Okay, he said. Guess I should just get it over with, huh? JJ said, actually, we're gonna get caught any second, I bet. Maybe we should just call it quits. Oh, stop. You're the one who wanted to play Truth or Dare, said Angelina. What if I went with you? Emery offered. Philip shook his head and started walking toward the edge of the woods. Come on, dude. We'll still be doing the dare, just a bit safer. I'm good, Philip told him. This was his moment. This is how he would prove he wasn't PK anymore. He was ready to break out of his past identity. He knew word would spread throughout the rest of the week. He would be that crazy kid who actually went into the woods, after midnight no less. After midnight, and alone. But not if he shared the moment with Emery. They formed a line along the tall grass delineating the woods from the campground with Philip in the middle. Practically tackling him, JJ threw her arms around him and squeezed. Be careful, she begged, then released him. It was as good a cue as he was going to get. Bringing his leg up dramatically, he stepped into the tall grass. Don't forget to sing, Angelina crooned. Philip started humming the first line of This Little Light of Mine as he moved forward. Sing, both Angelina and Emery commanded in unison. Philip put his hand on the nearest tree, felt its cool, rough bark. He half expected a shock, a burn, some warning sign of the supposed evil lurking beyond it. But it just felt like an ordinary tree. This little light of mine, he began. His hand slipped around the tree trunk as he passed by it, stepping into the shadowy woods where the moonlight barely shone. I'm gonna let it shine. You guys are so mean, Bet muttered. She heard the howling in the trees singing along with Philip. Spitting accusation, JJ replied, "It was your dare, witch." "JJ, stop," said Emery. JJ said, "You'd better not get hurt," burying an unspoken threat in her tone. Practically invisible now, Philip began the second verse. "Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine." Angelina shouted softly, "Sing louder, we can barely see you." Philip's volume increased slightly. "Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine." A breeze, gentle and cool, blew Bet's hair into her eyes. She raised a hand to push it back, but before touching herself, she felt someone else's fingers brush against her forehead to clear it away. She recoiled, turning toward Angelina as she batted her other hand through the air. "You okay?" asked Angelina. Bet opened her eyes. Angelina stood too far away to have touched her. She looked at Emery on her other side, but his attention belonged entirely to his invisible friend who just begun to sing the final line of his second verse. "Let it shine, let it shine." Philip went silent. They all unconsciously leaned forward, trying to see him. "Hey, PK, where you at?" Emery called. Nothing. "Nice try, you jerk," shouted JJ. "Ooh, tell him," Bet teased as Angelina simultaneously hissed, "Hey, you're gonna get us caught." "We might need to get someone anyway," Emery said, his voice low and serious. He shouted for PK once more before adding, "He wouldn't mess with us like this. It's not like him." "He obviously wants us to follow him in," said JJ. "He's baiting us?" Angelina pointed this question at Emery. "Absolutely not," Emery said. "You guys shouldn't have been so mean to him." "Us?" snapped Angelina. "Well, it's either we see what he's up to in there or go get help," said Bet. "I vote go get him," said JJ. "He couldn't be that far." Emery pivoted to face the group and held up his hands. "No, wait, I have an idea." He turned back to the woods. "Hey, PK, we're gonna go get the counselors if you don't come out. I'm not kidding. This isn't funny." A voice behind them up the hill called, "Hello?" It was Tyree Lee, one of the counselors. He'd heard their semi-muted tones carried on the breeze as he made his way back from the latrines. JJ hissed, "I am not getting caught out here with..." She cut herself short as her eyes caught moonlight glinting off of Bet's. They locked gazes for a second, Bet daring JJ to finish her sentence. "With you. With a witch." She wanted a reason to slap her, a good reason. But JJ broke away, not only from Bet's gaze, but from the entire group. She hurtled through the tall grass and past the first trees before anyone could react. Their attention was on Tyree, descending the hill at an angle away from them. "He hasn't seen us yet," whispered Angelina. "Come on, we can't lose her too," Bet urged, pulling Angelina's arm toward the woods. JJ's pink hoodie faded in the gloom. Angelina muttered, "Ugh, here we go," and took off after her. Bet encouraged Emery with a slight nod toward the woods, then followed him in. Angelina hummed "This Little Light of Mine" now that it was stuck in her head as she weaved between the suffocatingly close trees, their roots tangled in her path. It looks like they're attacking each other. She could barely see the hazardous roots in the near-total darkness, forcing a slow pace. Beside her, Emery whispered venomously at his missing friend. "PK, they're looking for us now. Get out here now." "He shouldn't have gone further than this," said Angelina. She'd just finished humming the second verse. "I don't feel good," said Bet. "I think I might puke." "Ew, well, keep up. We can't slow down because of your tummy," JJ replied. Bet almost tripped on a root and steadied herself against a tree. Its bark felt like ice beneath her fingers. Her stomach heaved and her mouth opened for release, but nothing came out except choked air. "You okay?" Emery asked as Angelina passed them both, unaware Bet had even stopped. A void filled her peripheral vision. Bet shook her head. There's definitely something really evil in here. I've felt presences before, but nothing's ever made me this sick. Maybe you ate too much chocolate, said JJ. Wait, listen, Angelina whispered up ahead. In the invisible distance, they all heard Philip's voice singing clearly.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
He's way too far in, said Emery. I don't want to go that far. I shouldn't have dared him, Bet groaned. You didn't, Emery reminded her. He took a shuddering breath. Here's what we'll do, said Angelina. 2 of us should go back and tell Tyree, and 2 of us will stay here to keep track of PK. I volunteer to leave, said Bet, her empty gorge rising again. I'll go with her, said Emery. Oh, how brave, young man, taunted JJ. Emery told her to shut up. Angelina said, It's fine, I'm not that scared, and JJ, it's your fault we even... Philip started singing again, this time in a completely different location. Angelina whispered, Okay, weird. You 2 should go get the counselor's stat. Yeah, Emery trailed off, taking in the labyrinth of trees behind them. He didn't think they'd gone deep enough to lose sight of the campground. He thought the bright moonlight out there would lead them back, but the view behind them looked identical to what stretched ahead and to either side. Trees, darkness, strange movements he told himself were tricks from his eyes. Don't say it, said Bet, righting herself. Even if we are, don't say it. Don't admit it. I think it's pretty obvious already, Emery whispered. He saw only the shimmer of Bet's black hair as she shook her head. We can't admit any weakness. We can't show it that it's getting to us. If it starts getting to us at some point. She spoke this last sentence into the trees. If what starts getting to us? Asked Angelina. Bet turned to her, startled. She hadn't realized how close they were standing. She took a deep breath, then said, The demon. Oh, so now you're sure that's what it is? Angelina sarcastically inquired. Don't, said Bet. Now that I can feel it this strong, yes, I'm sure. Besides, it told us so with the pendulum. No one doubted her this time. Philip's singing resumed again, but they hardly noticed. His constant, distant voice took a back seat to the terrifying reality that beset them. They were lost. Did anyone bring a flashlight? JJ demanded. Did you? Snapped Angelina. I have my phone, but that's it, said Emery. He held up his iPhone. Its screen surprised them. Its glow seemed impossibly bright in the ever-blackness of the moon-starved woods. Bet, you got anything that could get us out of here? Asked Angelina. What, like a compass? Because I don't want to touch magic while we're in here. We're in its world, Bet replied. But also, I don't summon fire and shoot moonbeams, Lena. I was just asking, chill, said Angelina. Emery said, You guys are going to hate it, but I have a plan. We can't be that deep, right? It's just dark. If we all go the same direction, we'll probably just get ourselves in deeper. But if we all spread out, we could... Stop, no, said Angelina. I'm with her, said JJ. Bet said, I get why that might... No, listen, shouted Emery. Even he fell silent for a moment, surprised by his own echo. Did it morph deeper as it spread further through the trees? He said, I can leave my phone right here. It has plenty of battery and I'll change the settings so it doesn't shut itself off. When one of us finds the way out, they should yell. Everyone else should meet back at my phone, then go join them. Angelina thought aloud. And if no one finds the way out, we can all still meet back at the phone to decide what to do next. Yeah, said Emery. Somebody should guard the phone, JJ suggested. Emery said, True. They all wanted the job. Each of them waited patiently for someone else to suggest them. Emery knew he couldn't volunteer because splitting up had been his idea. Angelina wasn't done projecting bravery yet. Bet felt scared to be alone at all, but she felt at least a little better when Emery had shown the light. Her nausea had mostly passed, but constant dread still clenched her heart. A cold fist. She felt it tugging, trying to pull her away from the group. "I think JJ should stay," Angelina said, letting her own voice surprise her. She'd picked JJ because she didn't trust her as much as she trusted the others not to simply abandon them if she found the way out. "Okay, sure," said JJ, adequately masking her relief. Emery tapped through the settings on his phone before handing it to JJ. He turned and pointed into the trees. "I'll go that way." Angelina and Bet chose their directions too, planning to create an expanding triangle. Emery nodded once they were done. "Well, let's not waste any more time, huh? Don't move too fast. Remember, we're not that far from camp." Angelina hugged Bet. Then they all split away. You made it out. Congratulations. If you enjoyed the story, please rate, like, review, or subscribe. For early, ad-free episodes and behind-the-scenes episodes called Into the Woods, become a patron at patreon.com/thewarningwoods. You can also support the show by purchasing merch. The merch store and Patreon links are in this episode's description. Follow me on Instagram at The Warning Woods to stay up to date. And when you feel ready, meet me here for another journey into the Warning Woods. Thank you for listening.